The views and opinions expressed on this station do not reflect the owners, management, staff, clients, or partners. Medical House presents Bermuda's most viewed and listened to talk show. The Daily Hour starts now.
It's Tuesday, the 27th day of October. Welcome to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House and Lindo's. I'm Jamal Hartman, along with Carla Zool and Charlene Pringle. Thanks for making us part of your daily routine. We really do appreciate you putting up with us. If you haven't already, share the link, start a watch party, just get the conversation out there to your network. You never know what these crazy two will say. You really don't. Another important conversation today, as we will be hosting, I believe, Inspector Charlene Thompson from the Bermuda Police Service to discuss road safety. The Daily Play is a remember when, so Shari will be testing our history knowledge. Okay, so if you know, you know, but Carla has been on a roll. I just, I'll get behind my teammate when it comes to the Daily Play. She's just rocking it. I mean, she didn't get yesterday's one, but she's rocking it.
I did get yesterday's. Excuse me.
Didn't you? I thought you got yesterday's.
Reverend Al shopped in maybe after 7 guesses, but I got it.
It was about 12 guesses. Yeah, it was about 12.
Oh, now hold on a minute. Wait a minute. When I do the questions and you take like 90 chances to get the answers, you still put on your victory music. So Carla deserves her victory music after 12 guesses.
It was 7.
Oh, 7.
In fact, it was less because I could even tell you who I threw out there. So I'm not paying him any mind.
I know. Just.
But if he gets it right, it's still all in. I tell him already there is no I in team. So either way, we're good.
Well, glad that we got that straight. So this wasn't about me. This was about Carla yesterday. I don't know why you all got to put it on me, make it about me, but this was not about me. But we'll get the answer within 3 tries today if Shari actually gives us a good question, that is. So it's up to the question, right? A lot to discuss. We will be discussing road safety as our focus conversation for the day. But I don't know much about the U.S. court system, but it looks like they've confirmed some lady Barrett, Comey Barrett last night. What is that? Like, I see a lot of people making noise about it, but why are people so angry about this?
Well, it goes back to them stealing Barack Obama's selection of a judge during the end of his term, and there was no election in view like it is today. So most of the Republicans have been hypocritical and going ahead and pushed this one through, meaning that Trump has literally stolen like 2 seats from the Democrats. So basically, I mean, the only thing that can happen is that if the Democrats win the Senate, they'll have to put a couple more seats onto the Supreme Court.
Well, okay, so I'm not understanding, how did Trump steal him if he's the president? How did he steal to put these 2 people? I think Kavanaugh and Comey Barrett. That's what I don't understand. How did he steal them?
Go ahead, Carla.
Now, you're the U.S. pro, but what I understand, Sherry, to understand it, Jamal, is that they asked, could it wait until when Barack Obama wanted to do it way before an election? They said, no, it was unfair. Let the election happen, right? And then now it's reversed and they changed the playing field. So basically, they forced their nominee through without not much the Democrats can do. Is that the kind of layman's way to understand it, Sherry?
Right. And there is nothing that the Democrats could do because the Senate is run by the GOP. Merrick Garland, you probably heard the word. He was the one who was going to be nominated to replace one of the judges that just passed away. And they said, no, let the people decide through the election. But the election was like in November, and this was like probably in February. But in this situation, the election is actually already underway, and they just had to rush her through because she's her views. Trump needs her for overturning the Obamacare, and also for possible litigation after the election if he decides to contest it. And then going down the road further, overturning Roe versus Wade, which is the abortion law, which people should be concerned, even in Bermuda, because that does affect Bermuda.
I mean, I've heard the Republicans say that there's no comparison with what happened to Obama because, as I think David R. Michael R. Wilson saying, is moving goalposts. They've strategically moved the goalposts to say, well, Obama didn't control the Senate at the time. I think it's just ridiculous when I hear it. At the end of the day, my only response to all of this is politics 101. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe that even I from what I see, and I do watch a lot of the news networks as of late, it seems like the Republicans actually want to get Joe Biden in so that they can put a new Republican up in 4 years that can probably help get them back and probably win the House back in another 2 years. But I think they know right now that it's probably going way too far. They like their racism a little less overt. They don't like, it as out there.
He's had a little less overt.
Let's be honest. They're racist. These people are. They just don't. They're not as outspoken about it. I say it all the time. Donald Trump doesn't bother me the way he bothers most people. I actually appreciate when people let me know where they stand. The fact that this gentleman can actually stand up there and say he's the least racist, not even realizing that he's saying, yeah, I'm racist. I'm just not as racist as this guy. I mean, I appreciate it, man. But for so long, we've wanted honesty from politicians rather than the flowery BS that we get, and we get it. And then he's probably not the best.
Well, he clearly states that he's not a politician. So he feels that what he's doing is breathing a breath of fresh air into politics. But he's had 4 years to sort that statement, I'm the least racist in the room, out. Doesn't he have friends who can tell him, hey, if you are the least racist in a room, you're still racist? But he's made that statement several times. America's a mess. Has he
ever come across that he listens to anything or anybody? So I wouldn't be surprised because someone said that they're concerned that he may call correct me, Sherry, National Guard if he loses the election, to surround the White House so he don't have to go.
And as commander in chief, that they're going to have a dilemma because they're supposed to follow his instructions. So, the next couple of weeks are going to be so interesting. Even though everybody's looking forward to Tuesday and waking up on Wednesday and maybe having a decision, I still think we have until January before this fool is and again, he can be reelected, but if the Democrats win the Senate, then it'll be a slightly different, and I'll be glad to see Mitch McConnell going because that man is just
it's again. I think it's the Democrats have to be hopeful. That's the most they can do, be hopeful as it relates to winning the Senate and the presidency. I just see, regardless of who wins, I just don't see Black people's lives in the U.S. getting better. That's just me. I think it's a fight of who's going to take care of certain groups better than the other, and Black people are not included in that.
No.
But I want to come to Bermuda real fast because a friend of mine actually told me to listen to Malcolm X, The Ballot and the Bullet yesterday. And I listened to all 52 minutes of that. And I had read it before, but never listened to it. And I guess it was edited down by someone and so on. And it took me back. I was like, I wonder how many things, because it still applies today. This was 1964. We're talking 2020, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember when Bermuda Sun, when it was in existence, had asked for my farewell, my radio farewell, can they share it in their paper? And they took it and they shared it. And that was over 10 years ago, August of 2010. And I said, let me find this and see what applies today. And although the Bermuda Sun, because they're a newspaper, toned it down a bit, my language, versus what I actually said, I don't know why anyone would want to turn me down.
No idea.
But they turned it down a bit. I was actually, as I reread it, it brought to mind, you know how people say, how far have we come?
Mm-hmm.
And it really said to me, we have not come. If anything, we've regressed in so many ways since 2010, just 2010. So, you know, we have a long way collectively as a community to go. And I use the US as an example is, you know, I think like most people, I just think Trump's presidency. I mean, I remember doing a study in graduate school on Abraham Lincoln and leadership. And I don't think, you know, Mr. Larry Marshall Sr. used to always say Hitler was a great leader, and people didn't understand what he meant. He wasn't saying he liked Hitler or he agreed with Hitler. But when you look at Donald Trump as president, you look at him as the leader of the Republican Party, and you look at those who support him, he will go down in history as a person who broke barriers in terms of influence, because he's not your normal kind of person in the modern day era. How was he able to influence? You know, Dr. Brown said when he was on recently, you'll never get everyone to agree. So if you get 51%, there's still 49%. So 51% gives you victory. There's still 49% that don't agree with you. The fact that this guy could get, just even if he had less of the popular vote, that many people, and then as president, he got, you know, most people with a conscience wouldn't have rode with a lot of the stuff he went with. But he was able to get Republican senators and Congress people to agree with him and do as he wanted to do. That's influence right there. So I think no matter how we look at it, no matter how much we don't like Donald Trump, the man is going to go down in history as a great influencer on the people he needed to on his side to do what he wanted to do. Because Republicans had every right to say no, including what's her homeboy name, Mitt Romney, who everyone thought had a conscience. Like they had every opportunity to say, no, this is not right. We're not going to move with this. We're not going to do that.
Mitt Romney's conscience is a swinging door. I think what it all comes down to actually is fear. What they did, Donald Trump being elected in, was necessary for actually everybody to see the fear that the now majority has for people of color, Black people, because in 2045, Black and people of color are expected to be the majority. That is what scares white people right now. Right now, Black people are only 13% in the US, right? When you combine Black with...
But of that 13%, how many can actually vote though?
Oh, exactly. But then when you add all the different, you know, people that are not considered white, in 2045, the census points to that us becoming the majority. And that actually is what is driving a lot of fear. Because I mean, 2045 may seem like
let's go back to this though. I mean, in terms of his influence, when was the last time you've seen a group of people saying, if my candidate doesn't win, they're going to do this and do that? Like, you know, I don't want to repeat some of the stuff, but this is what I mean about influence. Like, and let's keep in mind, this is a billionaire that probably has shown that he could care less.
Alleged billionaire.
Yes, correct, because taxes are not, you know, been reported to say he is.
Forbes says he isn't. Forbes says he is not.
750.
But I mean, you know, we care. Well, you know how the media is. We don't always, you know, tell things as they are. We tell them as we want to create the narrative, right? That's what we do. But no, seriously, all jokes aside, I think his ability to influence people who he doesn't care about it's effective. It's brilliant. I want to go back and I do agree with you, Kathy Bromby. Is it okay to call President a fool? I wouldn't let someone call that about. I would. If someone thinks that Premier Bert's a fool, that's fine with me. I don't know. Look. No. Let's address this.
You all can learn today.
Let's address it, because we've had good people like Kristen White on, our sister Nikki Michelle. Like, folks, if it ain't hurting nobody physically, emotionally, stop with the beat. Like, oh, that's not nice. And really, seriously, calling at someone a name never killed anybody like that. And if someone really feels that way because of how their lives have been impacted, so be it. Let's not do that. I mean, again, I probably, I'm the good one on her, so I'm not like, sorry, I'm not going to be calling people that, but I'm not going to chastise her for doing it.
It's been good for everybody. Let's just say he has made everybody take stock of how they feel. He has brought some of the racists out of the closets, which has been, like you say, Jamel, it's actually much better to know who is like that versus trying to.
Trust me. I have some friends I went to school with, graduate school. I see their post on Facebook. I'm like, okay, I know where to put you. You're on Limited. You're on this. You're on that. Yeah, I put them there. Look, we've got to go to the news. Read a few more comments. Shouting Eugene Fox, it's a nightmare that has lasted far too long after 2016 election. Don't know how this will play out in the next couple of days. It's going to be a landslide for Joe Biden, I predict. Not saying that I would have done
Charlie, you have a hunch?
Don't do that. Jeremiah Micah Haywood says, you don't have to like Trump, but he permanently funded HBCUs for 10 years, signed the first STEP Act, which freed 8,000 nonviolent prisoners, 92% were black, forced Joe Biden and the crime bill, blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. I don't even have information in me like right now to challenge that. But what I will say, and this is regardless of who the candidate is, just because someone does good things for people doesn't still mean that they're not evil and the wrong person for a job. So as a non-voter, as I call myself these days, I think it's important to keep an open mind when we do that. But Carla, we have to get to you to the news, because we will talk about this to the is it saying the cows come here or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this I'm quiet. You all can have that stuff. The Bermuda Police Service has confirmed the death of 27-year-old Dante Woods, who succumbed to injuries sustained in a stabbing incident which occurred shortly before 2 a.m. on Sunday, October 25th. A family liaison officer has been assigned to the family of Mr. Woods to assist them during this difficult time. The young man was reportedly injured following a fracas which started during an event at the Somerset Cricket Club. As many as 5 males were reportedly injured during the initial incident, with one of them now being treated at hospital for a stab wound to his abdomen. One of the injured males has been arrested in connection with the incident. The World Gazette reporting a U.S. Health Agency's assessment of COVID-19 risk in Bermuda has been dropped to very low, it was announced yesterday. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention removed the island from its level 2 moderate risk travel health advisory list. Bermuda is now one of 22 countries classed as no travel health risk, COVID-19 risk very low. Police will set up roadside breath test checkpoints in 6 phases this weekend. A notice in the government's official gazette said the Bermuda Police Service will run the stops on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They will cover Hamilton Parish, Smiths, Devonshire, Pembroke, Paget, Warwick, and Southampton. The checkpoints have been used by police to deter drink driving since September 2018. USA Today reporting White House advisor and President Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, came under heavy criticism after he said yesterday that Black Americans have to want to help themselves in order for the president's policies to help them. Kushner said on Fox and Friends that the president can help people in the Black community break out of the problems that they're complaining about, but he can't want them to be successful more than they want to be for themselves. He also said that many people in the anti-police brutality and discrimination protests that followed the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis were just virtue signaling, a term for empty gestures of outrage or anguish on social media. Because of superstitious beliefs in some cultures, black cats are sometimes associated with bad luck and sadly are more likely to be put to sleep or wait a long time to be adopted from shelters. Black Cat Day was launched to show people that a black cat could be the perfect cat for them and help raise awareness about black cats in general. If you've been looking to adopt a cat yourself, why not consider a black cat? Not only are the superstitious about them bringing bad luck completely untrue, but you might find that a black cat might be a fantastic feline companion for you. Turning to weather, with a few showers still in the area, the high today in Bermuda is expected to be 79. It's expected to be 66 in Las Vegas, Nevada, and 58 in London, UK. Don't forget, Medical House is your number one source of PPE supplies, masks, face shields, disinfectants, sanitizers, glove gowns, no-touch thermometers, and so much more at the lowest prices. Visit Medical House today at 22 Mill Reach Lane in Pembroke. And don't forget to tune in to the full100radio.com tonight for Nighttime Jams, featuring some of your favorite romantic classics. That's your Daily Hour news break.
All righty. We're going to take a quick break. Looks like we'll be back with Inspector Charlene Thompson after this to have a very important conversation about road safety.
Good day, Medical House Store speaking. Can I help you?
Medical House is Bermuda's leading one-stop shop for healthcare.
I found myself being a caregiver. Even though I was a nurse, I still needed help on, what was available in hospital beds and all that kind of equipment, and I knew where to go. I went to Medical House.
Bermuda's top doctors, dentists, care homes, and the hospital choose Medical House for a wide range of products. These same professional quality products are available to you for home health care.
I was very pleased with Medical House and the help they gave me when I most needed it.
Your experience with Medical House is about getting your needs met, but we also try to provide knowledge to help you through whatever you're experiencing.
Medical House is on Millreach Lane in Pembroke, where there's private parking right outside the door.
I would recommend them to anybody.
Call or visit Medical House today.
We're constantly impressed by the innovative work of the whole food industry seeking new sources for gluten-free versions of our favorite traditional foods. Miracle Noodle makes authentic, delicious pastas from the konjac plant traditionally used in Japan for the manufacture of grain-free noodles. And they've diversified, offering miscellaneous good eats for the gluten-sensitive. We're featuring Miracle Noodle spinach angel hair and 95% organic fettuccine noodles, shirataki rice, pho and pad thai ready-to-eat meals, and chicken and beef bone broth. Lindo's. Why go anyplace else?
Welcome back to the big show. It's the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House and Lindo's. Don't forget, you can catch us on Channel 82 if you don't have internet access or know someone who may not have internet access. We are available on their Channel 82 thanks to Crimson Multimedia, as well as One Communications. For those watching on the internet, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, where you can find us. If not, we can share a link. If you haven't already, folks, go and subscribe to our channel because, people had the audacity to say, oh, well, I didn't know you all were going to go live on YouTube to speak about the violence in Bermuda. Well, we didn't know either, but things happen. And if you were subscribed to the YouTube channel, then you would have got the notice. So that's out of the way. Let's bring on our special guest for the day. It's Inspector Charlene Thompson from the Road Safety Unit at the Bermuda Police Service. As you know, we had two tragedies over a week ago, and we want to change the behaviors on our roads. So who better to bring on to discuss that than the police service themselves? Here we go. Hello, welcome to the show.
Good morning, everyone. How are you today?
Morning.
We're fine. I can speak for myself. I'm fine. My two colleagues, they can be very wild people. They can be wild.
Well, I can say all three of you look awesome this morning, and good morning, Bermuda, to you.
Oh, thank you. Good morning.
Joining here with one of your favorite people, Mr. Marino is joining me, but he's staying off camera right now.
Yes, please keep him off camera. We don't need to see that.
I understand you full-heartedly, Mr. Harper. I get where you're coming from. I will keep him off camera too.
Thank you. But no, we appreciate you taking the time to do this. Obviously, a lot to talk about, but I want to just go back to the recent article. You were quoted as saying there needed to be a cultural shift and a mindset change. I often say that regarding many things in Bermuda, but what do you believe it'll take for this to happen in Bermuda as far as road safety?
Wow, you started off with a really powerful question, because I asked that question Friday evening in a chat with some of my members of the Road Safety Council, because I was receiving messages around 9 o'clock at night. One of them had left work and they were headed west, and I was headed east. And as I got home, I saw messages and it was telling me that, you know, police needed to be up at T and Tatum stretch because the way the bikes were riding, overtaken, especially the females on the bike. And I responded back and I said, well, I was on my way home traveling east, and I see the same behavior in town and traveling east. And I ended it with the same question that you asked. What is it going to take? How do we get into the minds? How do we change the mindsets of our road users? This week, since last week when I started speaking on this, I've been asking people to self-reflect, to try to take ownership for their particular actions on the road, or lack thereof actions on the road, just to take stock and ask themselves in quiet time, what is it that they're doing that's contributing to the behaviors on the road? And if each of us start with our individual selves, I think that's a start. The other way is through engagement and through education. Earlier this week, I shared a story that there was a young man last week, Thursday, and this is after we did the press conference on Monday last week, that my colleague and I were in Hamilton patrolling, and we were at a stop sign, and he came in on the inside of us, went past the stop sign, we followed. He went through a second stop sign, made a right turn to head towards 4th Street, and went through a third stop sign until we finally caught up with him and pulled him over. And as my colleague was dealing with the licensing part and stuff, I decided to have a conversation with the gentleman just to get inside his mind, just to get an idea of what was he thinking and why was he riding the way he was riding. And he said to me, he was just knocking off and on his way home to cook. And I said, excuse me? And he repeated it. And he says, yes, ma'am, I'm knocking off and I'm on my way home to cook for my wife. And I said, you have a wife? And he said, yes, ma'am. And I said, do you love her? He said, very much so, ma'am. And I said, do you love her enough not to want her to sit next to a hospital bed saying prayers over you, or worse yet, having to plan your funeral? And he just slumped his shoulders and dropped his head, and he said, you know what, ma'am? I wasn't even thinking. That's powerful to know that we have riders and drivers out there behind vehicles. And that's not the first time we've heard that. You know, we have so many stories we can share where our officers are not just pulling over people to issue tickets. They're pulling over and they're having that conversation. And when we gather back in the office and we're talking about some of those, the consensus is the same. When they're trying to figure out why people are riding or driving, everybody drops their head and says they weren't thinking. So what do we have to do to get Bermuda to think when they get behind the wheel of a car, when they get on a bike, to think about not themselves, but the other people on the road that have just as much right and privilege. You know, if you remember from my press conference, it's amazing. I have a daughter that's going 21. For whatever reason, she's never been a fan of wanting to drive. All of a sudden now she wants to learn how to drive. But she's going to do her lessons and go to TCD. And when she sits in the car of the examiner, she would come to a complete stop at a stop sign. She would put on that indicator. She would drive at 35 kilometers, as we all did, because we know that that man or woman sitting next to us has the power to say, pass or fail. Yeah. And we do everything that the traffic code. We even study the traffic code so we can go take that written test in order to get us in that seat. We do it all. We do everything we're supposed to do when we want something. Yeah. And when we get it, we don't seem to understand that holding a Bermuda driver's license is a privilege. It is not a right. Yeah. It is a privilege to be a Bermuda driver's license holder.
that example you just gave, and not to make light of the situation, we do everything we need to do to get what we want. That can apply to relationships, so many different things. But that's I don't know if it's cultural, but that's just so that's intriguing to me. And on cultural, the situation you just mentioned, a very powerful situation with the gentleman rushing home. But a lot of times, people discuss Bermuda's drinking culture, right?
Mhm.
And so, I guess there is a heavy drinking culture in Bermuda. I don't think we need statistics to show us that there's a heavy drinking culture on the island.
For
How
goodness sake, we have a song called Bermudians Love to Drink.
exactly? And I mean, jokes or whatnot, is it something we should be proud of? Probably not. When we really look at it, yeah, probably not. And so I guess I'm gonna ask, how often would you say alcohol is a factor in a lot of the preventable accidents that take place on the island?
More than often, alcohol is a contributing factor to the accidents that are taking place on the island. And the one thing that we've noticed, especially say in the last 6 weeks, we have had an increase of day drinkers. We've had an increase in arrest of persons being arrested. I mean, and when I say day drinkers, I'm talking about before midday, before 12 o'clock in the day. And then we've had some incidents where persons have been arrested in the afternoon, which goes back to what I spoke about in the press conference. And we have RSS coming up, roadside sobriety tests coming up this weekend. And whilst I'm asking Bermuda to do a culture shift in their mindset on the roads, I recognize that we in the BPS need to do a shift in how we go about doing some things, and not wanting to become predictable, because I was getting feedback since I've taken over this role. You have persons going out for happy hour, for example, on a Friday, and they will look at their watches and they'll see it becomes a certain time. And okay, it's time to go home before the police set up roadside sobriety. So they got comfortable knowing that it was in a certain time they can go out and drink. They don't have a designated driver. They haven't made any plans on how to get home. And they know that, hey, I can go home because roadside sobriety, but they're probably not going to set up until around midnight or 11 o'clock or 1 o'clock in the morning, when the bars and the clubs are closing now because of COVID. So we're looking to change that. We're
Indeed.
looking to change that. But number of times, alcohol is one of the main contributing factors. Not all the time, but majority of the time, we do find that.
Inspector Thompson, now with the Road Safety Council, they're seeing so many different approaches. Now, years ago, people said the approach was too soft, and then when Dr. Johnson was the chairman, with permission, he had the graphic accident scenes and aftermaths, and then people said it was too gruesome. What approach do you think could work here? I mean, I heard what you said, that sometimes trying to figure it out, what's the mindset, but what approach do you think can be taken? Because you can't just give up.
No, and I think it's a balanced approach. So Mr. Moreno and I actually discussed this the other day, because someone else suggested what happened when Mr. Johnson was there showing the gruesome videos. But from speaking and finding out, as you just rightfully stated, that wasn't something the public went for. They thought it was too gruesome. So what we're planning is a balanced approach between that. So we will be looking to stage our own accidents, and then show a side-by-side clip on what could have been done to prevent it. And that's from the Bermuda Policing side. But I also bring these things up when I sit at the Road Safety Council, so we can have a holistic approach and everybody on the same team taking part in this. So I can tell you, since I've been sitting on the Road Safety Council in June, these are some of the things that we're looking to put into place and to roll out, and also looking at it from a BPS side standpoint. Who's better to demonstrate and show the public what it is that what went well, what didn't go so well, and what they can do better in order to improve their driving behavior. And let's be real, I'm of the mindset that I know some people are going to pay attention to that, and some people have their minds made up that they're just going to continue to ride and drive the way that they want to, without respect for the roads and without respect for other road users. And sometimes, it's he who feels it knows it. And I don't know what it's going to take to get to those people who are determined to continue to break the laws of our roads and continue to ride and drive in the manner that they do.
Real quickly, before you go, Shari, Inspector Thompson, is it a way you can turn up your mic a little? We're getting a lot of messages on. I'm getting some on the side that you're coming through a little low. So if there's anything you can do to just adjust your volume a bit to turn it up, go ahead, Shari.
Okay.
Unfortunately, my volume is all the way up on the device that we're using.
Okay.
Sorry, Bermuda. I've been
No problem.
told that I speak with a authoritative voice, so it's kind of shocking to hear that I'm not coming through.
Inspector Thompson, declaring my interest. I am the campaign manager for A Piece of the Rock. So the A Piece of the Rock documentary was created to bring awareness to Bermuda's tragically high road traffic crashes and fatality statistics. We work closely with then Inspector Cardwell and the road policing unit. What have been some challenges with keeping this unit motivated?
I actually don't have any challenge keeping my unit motivated. My guys are motivated every day that they come to work. We sit around, we talk about new ways and initiatives in which we can go out there, engage in the public, educate the public. Because for me, I said it from day one when I came into this unit and I had a meeting with the teams, that we have the enforcement down. Police are really good at, and not just roads policing unit, police are good at, for years, a number of years. I've been in this job over 25 years now, issuing tickets, penalizing persons via tickets, via court. We've got that down, which brings me back to how Jamal, I don't know if you mind me calling you Jamal or Mr. Hartman.
Jamal, it's Jamal.
Okay. How he started this off. My challenge to my team is, how are we going to get in and change the mindsets of the people in the community? And they have come up with some ideas and initiatives and some things that we started to do and we were rolling out over the summer. Some things are taking a little bit more time because it takes more fine detail in order to get it up and running. But they are motivated every day that they come into work. I have to say that I am super blessed in the position that I'm in to be working with the people that I'm working in the roads policing unit. I work with a highly motivated group of gentlemen and a female. I'm trying to get more females in the unit, but I don't have an issue with that. And I would love to hear from you outside of this, and we can discuss how we can partnership back together and work together to try to address. Since I've been here, I've had meetings with insurance companies, because the other thing for me is this. Everybody's heard me speak for the last week or so, and we're always speaking about the bad driving behaviors on the road. But let's be real. More people drive good. It's like any other situation. It just takes those that give the perception that we have this awful problem, and we do. But what are we doing to say to the good drivers, good job? And that's where I'm looking. I've had talks and I'm continuing to have talks. I've raised these at the Road Safety Council with the people at TCD. What initiatives can we come up with to say to good drivers, thank you. Thank you for not getting any tickets. Thank you for not being in any road traffic accidents. Thank you for being that careful driver on the road. Is it that, I know one of the things I'm pushing for, but Bermuda, no, they haven't agreed, but I'm pushing to see, if you go to get your car relicensed or reinsure it. I know for myself, every year I say to the insurance company, but I haven't had any accidents. Why is my insurance still going up? Or why is it the same? Why am I not getting a discount? But this is where we get penalized for those persons that do get in accidents and do have to claim off of their insurance. So it falls back on those innocent drivers that do follow the rules of the road. So we're working on things like that. I know TCD, they may never go for it, but every chance I get, I bring it up. Hey, you think after, I own my car now for 16 years, you think I can kind of get a discount on relicensing my vehicle if I have good driving behavior and I've held on to a vehicle for so long? The eyes go up, and I said, okay, we'll come back to that another time. But I think all around, I'm not just looking to go after those with bad driving behaviors. I want the motoring public to know that those of you that have good driving behaviors, I drove behind many of you this morning on my way to work, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you, because you're doing an awesome job. You're contributing to hopefully changing mindsets. Mind you, as soon as I pulled out of my gate, a young lady came barreling past me on her bike, overtaken on a corner, and it made me sit back in my car seat a bit more and just shake my head and say, you're probably going town to work. I live in Hamilton Parish. You can get there in like 15, 20 minutes driving at the speed limit. Where are you going?
And Inspector Thompson, it was a big win for all collaborating and bringing awareness to the plight on Bermuda's roads. The big win was the implementation of roadside sobriety checks. Unfortunately, in order for the legislation to pass, the government of the day insisted that these stops be gazetted. Despite this, many have been caught passing through these checkpoints. At times when we expect to see a decrease, we don't. Why do you think people decide to drink and drive despite the warnings?
Because they think they can get away with it. I'm starting to understand. I had this conversation with some close friends the other day, and adults are just life-size children. I had raised 2 girls, and I now have some grandkids. And as much as sometimes I used to tell them not to do something, they believe that, when you're not around, when you're probably not being looked at, if you think there's an opportunity for you to get away with what you've been asked not to do, then you're going to try to do it. Like I said it on Monday. Everybody must have one person, and I'm not assuming I know people's lives, but everybody must have one person in their life, and it doesn't have to be a family member, but I'm sure everybody has one person that cares about them that much, has that friend. Some people forge good relationships with colleagues at work that will be willing to say, hey, I don't have to come out with you, but when you're ready to go home, give me a call and I'll come and pick you up. Or if you're going to go with friends for the evening, decide which one of you is going to be the designated driver. And then the next time you go out, then it's the other person's turn. But I honestly think it's because they believe that, they won't get caught. Like I said, they sit there and they look at their watches and they say, hey, let me leave now so I can get home. I honestly, I'm baffled as well.
Let me we have a lot of people commenting, so just want to go to some of the questions in the audience. Dijon Simmons says, for the cultural shift, how does the BPS plan to engage younger drivers?
Well, we actually are meeting. I'm actually going to a meeting tomorrow at the Road Safety Council. It's a special call meeting, and I can't reveal too much because we do have some projects in place that are specifically geared towards our young people, that are specifically geared to addressing the way the young people are first introduced to our roads when they turn the age of 16. We have some initiatives in place. Put it this way, we're going to make it more safer with the engagement and more for our young people to understand better the rules of the road. Because right now with Project Ride, they go down to TCD and they ride through the cones. They do the Project Ride at their school. And we're looking at taking things further. I've stressed all week, and since last week, since I did the press conference, I do take the time to go online, and I want to see what the bloggers are saying. I do want to see the comments, whether they're negative or positive. I do want to see them. And what I take away as encouragement is a lot of the suggestions that are being put out by members of the public as to what police can do in understanding that we're not legislators, but we're there to enforce the law. But I do have a seat at the table in some meetings that I can encourage and in fact change, is that they're on par with a lot of things that are in discussion right now, but I'm not able to go into detail and speak on. But like I said, tomorrow I am sitting in a meeting to address specifically that, how we are going to be engaging with our young people through Project Ride, through other avenues, in order to make them safer drivers on the road. You heard me also speak about classification drivers. That's something that people were speaking a lot about, and it was something that we recognized, and we spoke about it already in one of our meetings, and that is a lot of people go to TCD and they learn to drive in an A-class, B-class vehicle, and then they go around to Auto Solutions and buy an H-class vehicle. So it's talking going around that, having persons be assessed in the actual vehicle that they're going to be driving. If you're going to
I didn't even consider that. Like, wow.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we're I can promise you, Bermuda, at least since I've, and I know my predecessor, Mr. Cartwell, because he was actually my mentor when I first joined the Bermuda Police Service and came out. Mr. Cartwell was my mentor. So he's somebody that I look up to. He's somebody that I seek advice from now that I'm sitting in his role, to make sure that I'm carrying on initiatives as he started, but also to run new initiatives by him. So those are the things that we're sitting around and talking about. Why are we? Because I see it. I see it. I see, my mom, someone my mom's age, sitting behind this huge Jeep and struggling to control this vehicle.
Yeah.
Or it's okay if you got your license in a G class or H class vehicle and you're downgrading, but when you're going from riding a, excuse the phrase, but you heard people say, a little matchbox, and then you're upgrading yourself to the largest possible vehicle outside of a bus or a truck that you can drive, and you haven't been assessed on whether you can manage that vehicle. So those discussions are being had. Looking at the 2019 Green Transport paper, we're discussing, people's been asking, yes, we're going to be raising the fines. Now, most people who get tickets are probably not going to like it, but we're not raising the fines to raise money as people think. It's a deterrent. For example, we have failing to stop for police. Do you know Bermuda is one of the few countries where failing to stop for police is not a felony, where it's not an arrestable offense? Right now, it is only $100 fine to fail to stop for police, when most other countries it's arrestable and a felony.
Interesting.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jamel.
Sorry, Sherry. Just want to, because there's so many comments, I really want to get as much as the audience. But we have a lot of comments. But what's standing out to me in the U.S., the insurance market is extremely competitive. You can't watch TV for a half an hour without seeing an Allstate or State Farm or Liberty Mutual, like the Progressive, Geico, like they are competing out there, right? That said, Charlene Thompson says good drivers in the USA receive discounts in car insurance, and then Alendria Stays also says give them a discount on vehicle insurance, or a discount for completing road safety tasks. Now, obviously, the Bermuda Police Service cannot control private business or entities, right? But is there something, a relationship that can be forged, or a program with insurance companies? Or, I mean, maybe this is beyond your scope, but even people who have maybe worked in the reinsurance or insurance industries who may have been laid off or lost their jobs, creating this another company that brings this, because I think it's more than just policing and road safety. It's going to take, I often say, community and business efforts. So do you think something like that would help as we talk about rewarding people?
Well, I'm going to refer you back to our conversation earlier. I already mentioned that I have been in meetings with insurance companies to discuss exactly that. And as you said, we don't control the insurance companies, But when I make a presentation and the presentation makes sense, and I can say that given the consensus, and I did have meetings with representatives from all the insurance companies, and it went well when I brought up things like discussing giving drivers discounts for good driving behavior. But we right now we're working on that balance, because we also have to, the insurance companies also want to know about the bad driving behaviors as well. And I don't think a lot of us realize when we renew our insurance every year, and when we initially signed up for our insurance, there's a I guess what you call it, they say it's good to read the fine print.
Mm-hmm.
You're also signing on that you're supposed to disclose to your insurance companies if you've received any tickets or if you've been in any accidents that year, because sometimes people go and get in accidents but don't necessarily go to their insurance companies to claim, especially if an accident that you were at fault. So they're working on how if they're better able to obtain that information. And again, I can't say this is exactly what's going to happen, but the idea is that the people that are frequently breaking the laws, getting a lot of traffic tickets, the reason the insurance companies ask for that information is to determine the level of coverage that you get. And so I was saying, on the other end, for the person that isn't making claims, that isn't getting tickets, that have good driving behaviors, I have made the request for them to consider giving discounts. And it is something that they are considering. And we are scheduled to meet again to take these talks further. And we do have representatives from insurance companies that sit on the Road Safety Council. So they hear me repeat the message when I'm at these meetings as well, that this has to be a holistic approach. We don't want to target just one segment of the community for their driving behavior. We want to look to reward those persons that are following. And this ties into also some of the things that we're trying to do to increase even the level of standard of driving instructors at TCD. And it's a lot of ideas going around, if they get this specific training, and would an insurance company accept that I went to Charlene Thompson, who was certified because she went through this program, and possibly I get a slight discount on my insurance. So it's a lot of ideas. There's a lot of things that are being discussed, a lot of things that are closer to coming to fruition than others, because other things take more time to work on. But I promise you, Bermuda, I hear you. I read your comments. I hear you when you speak on the radio. I do listen to you. I listen to your suggestions, your ideas. I look at the ones that we're already discussing, and I'm so happy to know that a lot of them are in alignment with things that we are already discussing around the tables that I have a seat at, and are able to bring these ideas forward.
Alrighty. I just want to touch on something before we let you go. This is so true. As competitive as the insurance market is in the US, yeah, I still pay more. It's true. Like I pay a lot. And keep in mind, just all things honest, I actually used to work for two local insurance companies that did this, and I remember having people come in and saying, I have a good clean driving record. Why is my insurance more this year? So I dealt with it on the front line before I took on a new career. With that said, we have to run.
I have to run as well. I have a 9:00 meeting to get ready.
No problem. Thank you so much for taking the time to have this conversation. It's an ongoing conversation, so we definitely have our door wide open for you to return any additional information over time that you'd like to share. You know how to reach us. All right.
And most definitely in Bermuda, again, I'm going to make the same plea I made yesterday. Please take your time. Let your aim be today to get where you are going safely and to get back home. And also, not for yourself, respect that of other road users, that they have that same wish for themselves to get where they want to go and to get back home safely. And I just ask you to drive with consideration, and remember, the fact that you hold a Bermuda driver's license is not a right, it's a privilege. It's a privilege. And we don't want any more funerals. We don't want any more accidents. We don't want any mothers, any fathers, sisters, brothers mourning the loss of a loved one from actions or behaviors that could have been prevented. So please, and we have roadside sobriety testing out there this week. I'm not trying to ruin your Halloween weekend. But if you're going to go out, if you're going to drink and drive, please have a plan in place. Please have a designated driver. And if you choose to do none of those things, don't go out and drink and drive. And if you choose to do so, be prepared to suffer the consequences if you are caught.
Agreed. Thanks again, Inspector Charlene Thompson. Talk to you soon.
Thank you. Have a great
Bye.
day, everyone. Bermuda, have an awesome day.
All right. Wow. I think out of everything that was said, the day drinking really stands out to me. It's time for the Daily Play. What you got for us, Sherry?
What I have for you is when was the Bermuda Police Service the first women's police service officer? Who was the first Bermudian female police officer? That's what my question is.
You took a way to ask that question.
Miss Gertie Baker.
Who?
You said who was the first
Bermudian
female
woman to join the police force? I think you're trying to say
Miss
Gertie
Gertie
Barker,
Baker.
but
No.
I don't know.
Sorry.
I'm not even going to guess this. I don't know. Let's see if anyone in the audience has the answer. No, it's not Uber. So I guess we're talking about something else. No, I'm in 1963, so it can't be that person.
Miss Trott has it.
Jean Vickers.
She was one of 3 local women who joined the force, but she was the first Bermudian woman.
Okay.
The women's police department was established in 1961.
Okay.
And
Cool.
David Michael got that.
Good information to have. Maybe Carla and I would not have done well in that part of history. Want to get back to the conversation. Elizabeth says day parties are really popular now because of the new road sobriety measures. That just means that they need to change the time of the roadside thing. You know.
I wish we had more time with her because I just think. I know they have to by law, but I think
that's why that question is not no, because they've answered that tons of times, and the answer is very simple. It's not to criminalize people, Carla. The whole purpose of gazetting it is to get people to change their behaviors. So that's like, I remember when it first came out, and I actually saw people asking, well, why would the police let people know? Because it's not about criminalizing people. You don't want to criminalize people for doing this. You want to change their behaviors. That's the benefit of getting it done. So I think many police officers have actually said that as well, as to why they do gazette it.
Right. And it wouldn't have passed if they didn't approve that. And people changing their behaviors is really what this whole thing is about. And one thing I need to really say quickly, which we keep using the word accidents interchangeably. Accidents cannot be prevented, and 9 times out of 10, most of the crashes on our roads, you can look back to see what you could have done. If you didn't try to make that nip, you wouldn't have struck that car. If you didn't do this, accidents can't be prevented. So we have more crashes than accidents, but because we use it interchangeably, people think that, I had an accident. No, you didn't have an accident. You had a crash.
Indeed. To simple what she's saying is that it's avoidable. They don't just happen. People's behaviors lead to them. Carla, what you got for inspiration? We need some after today's conversation.
The biggest adventure you can take on is, let me start over. The biggest adventure you can take is to live the life of your dreams. Oprah Winfrey.
Got it. Shari, in 10 seconds, any final words?
Just let's try to find Chevelle. We'll have to get some information on where she could be.
Carla, what you got for us?
Be safe and be kind.
All right. We appreciate you. We love you. And we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll be discussing how to deal with on-the-job rejection tomorrow. So, you ever went for a promotion, didn't get it? Ever went for a job, didn't get it? Yeah. Get ready. Psychology 101. Oops, wrong one. We're out.
Thanks for tuning in to the Daily Hour, brought to you by Medical House. All recorded episodes and highlights can be found at thedailyhour.com. Stay connected with us by following us at The Daily Hour on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.